Shorts.
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 So, thank you very much for agreeing to be part of this awesome thing that we're trying to build in terms of a YouTube channel to support others, particularly different people in terms of neurodiversity, but also like not preaching, but talking about mindfulness, and kind of trying to help and inspire others is where the channel is. So it's called The Quiet Path because I think in life, or particularly in my life, it's been quite chaotic. And Jen and I are now going to be traveling from the UK to Australia. So I'm going to be documenting that. But before we go, I wanted to interview and have a chat with people about who's really kind of inspired me and helped me. And I want to get these people to have a voice, because I think often people don't have a voice when they should. So I thought this is a good opportunity to not only let you have a voice, but also to help others who may be going through a difficult situation or something similar to you. So thank you for welcoming me into your home as well. It's
You're
the first
welcome.
time I've been here.
Thank you.
And it's very, very Ness.
Yeah.
Which is like feel very relaxed, very chilled. Good. And there's like little pockets of mindfulness everywhere, and it's really quite beautiful. So firstly, thank you for that. Obviously, I've known you for a few years now, and I know you as my Buddhist mum because you always wrap your arms around me and you've supported me in so many different ways that I'm very grateful for. I know you as a very special individual, someone who practices what they preach, is very kind, caring, speaks about very openly about your own difficulties, but also you share the most beautiful things in life that you've gone through. So that's my take on you as being such a wonderful human. For people that don't know who Vanessa is, who are you?
Who am I?
Who is
Goodness.
Vanessa?
Who am I? That's
in
a good question.
In a like, not to go through absolutely everything, but just the top level, whether it's ADHD, or autism, or you're a Buddhist, or what.
I just want to say one thing, and the place that I met you, Alex. The first time I met you was in Portugal, on our Buddhist retreat. So we all of us try and travel there each year, and that's how I met you. And of course, you were saying that was part of your chaotic life, and that was a big retreat, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, the stuff that went on behind the scenes, down the river and everywhere. But so who am I? Okay, so I grew up in Australia. Yeah. And I was the firstborn of my generation, essentially, and the oldest of three sisters, so I had three children. So it was myself, my sister, and my brother, and my two parents. And we were extremely fortunate. So we were in an area where we grew up where there was lots of fields and creeks and rivers, and I could just go out the back door and be free. And that was always me. So I was, obviously I went to school and tried to go to school, went to school, didn't really like school, but I was always outdoors. We had horses growing up. So I was very lucky in that respect. I think one of the things I've noticed about, and I have these memories as well, is being in nature for me is something that's very personal. And I think often it's better to be in nature alone, because then you're not there talking with somebody or, chatting or going mad about everything. So I remember this as a child, and it's still stuck with me, and it stays with me. So that was a big part. So then, I went through the school years. In my 20s, I studied and became a veterinary nurse, and I worked with large animals. Yep. So this for me is really important, because I think what I learned there was, and we were working with horses and cattle that had been bought from the outback. And I was like, I worked through there like in my primary school year, I worked through there in my high school years for work experience. I was this tiny little 14-year-old skinny little thing. We'd be getting these mad cows, like, seriously, not mad cows as in English disease, but we'd be getting these cattle off trucks that had been out west, and they'd never seen another person. And it used to be me that was doing it. So in those circumstances, you kind of have to be really aware. And it's not about something that is, if you've got a horse that's been hurt, or a bull or something like that, that's you're hanging off a lead, you can't make these animals be quiet and calm them down by, pulling on them and yanking and going mad at them. You really have to learn to to calm that, and which is something that was instinctual for me. So what I've realized that, like traveling through the years to now, and I've done like a mindfulness meditation teacher training, what I've realized with that is, and also myself and children, is that it's about being able to regulate yourself. And I think that part of having that part of me and being in nature and bringing that through my life is something that I do naturally. So if somebody's upset, you know, you're saying about, you just see, like, I can see what people need. You see that if somebody needs a hug, they need a hug. But you can, if you really pay attention to the person in the moment, you can see what you need, what they need. So that's been a big part of it for me. So for me, Buddhism, when did I become? So I first found that in high school. Again, I thought it was the best thing. So went to a Catholic girls' school run by nuns. Of course, many of us have been, you know, many Buddhists have been through that journey. But I always thought it was interesting. But for me, it was always like, oh, there's too many numbers, because I was always like off, busy doing things. So, but throughout my life, it's come back again and again.
Yeah.
Again, I came across it in my 20s. So a friend of the family was a Theravadan Buddhist monk. So I went to the Theravadan teachings. I used to fall asleep because it was too much. I couldn't, like, it was just too much information. It was too formal. So then again, started traveling, came over here in my 30s. You know, I've got 2 kids, had a relationship. That fell apart. And so what I realised then, I'm like, oh, I really need to get back to this Buddhism, because my life was just, it was chaos.
Yeah.
And there's been periods in my life where I've been really chaotic, where I've partied too hard, where I've done things I shouldn't have done. But I think for me, what that was in those times, so it was emotionally, I'm a very emotional, sensitive person. So emotionally, when things go wrong, you're kind of, you're out of control. And what I feel is that would also match my outside life.
Yeah.
So the more out of control I was internally, matched how I was, you know, going berserk in the real world, doing things I shouldn't have done. So I think that's what I realised there. But it's taking me, you know, 30 or 40 years to kind of figure that out.
Awesome.
Some feedback on that.
Yeah, no, so you've come a long way is what I'm hearing, I think. And I think you spoke about the chaoticness of life, and I've been through that similar situation as well, and then found that things have calmed since I've like taken on a mindful life, if you want. Obviously that word gets thrown around quite a lot, which is can be, I don't know whether frustrating is the wrong word to use, but it's like
misconstrued.
Yeah. So I find that, but where I was going to go with it is so like you're ADHD and autistic as well. So to go through all these,
what's going on in there,
you know,
what's going on in there,
you're quite sensitive, hypersensitive, or however you describe it. Is that linked with the ADHD and autism? And my next question is, how do you manage like the hypersensitive?
Yeah, so this, I didn't realise that, like in my early years. So I think probably what happens is your ADHD is there, and it's kind of the chaos. So it creates a lot of trouble. But I think underneath, the autism is the part of me that has got like sensory issues. Not I wouldn't say sensory issues, just I'm somebody that's very aware. And I know a lot of autistic people, a lot of autistic kids that I've worked with, they become, it just becomes too much for them. So I mean, I think with, you know, you're constantly with a neurodiverse mind, it's not something that you can turn off. And I think a lot of people don't even realise that you're constantly, all the time, you're looking around. So you're listening to things, you're seeing things, you're hearing things, you're smelling things. And if you're in a place of dysregulation, so say somebody said something to you and you don't want to do it, so say you're a child and you don't want to do it, you sort of push back. But in those moments, what I've realised is that everything becomes louder. Everything becomes, the smells are too much, the lights are too much. So again, it's dependent on how you are emotionally inside. And that's when you start to have, you'll see a lot of autistic people that have what's called like meltdowns and things like that, or they become dysregulated. What I recognised with one of my children is and also I think what is important here is that when you're autistic, you mask. So you've kind of, for me, you're sort of, and it's not something you do on purpose, but you're watching the world all the time. So you're watching the world and thinking, how do I fit in? How do I make friends? How do I how do I do this? But these are questions that would always be going through my mind, but I didn't realize that I could ask. I didn't even think that it was something that you could ask. It was just me comparing myself to the world around me. And I don't know, it's just confusing. It's confusing to be like everybody else, and to go into the world and try and behave yourself.
Yeah, and it sounds kind of quite isolating as well.
It can be. Yeah, because you do feel very separate. And I think all of my life I've known that there was something different about myself, but I didn't know about it until I started researching it, and then I had the ADHD diagnosis in 2021, so I was 51. So it's like it's a lot. Wow. I was going for years, like 25 years, and they're going, no, women don't get autism.
Really?
Yeah, because I sort of read these books and think, well, I'm like that. Yeah. And also, if I look at my family's history, you can look back for generations and see that we've done some incredible things in our family, but it's because of the neurodiversity. But I would say we've done some amazing things in our family, and I would say it was because it's a neurodiversity. You just, for me especially, if there's something I want to do, it doesn't matter how long it takes, I will do it. It might take me an extra decade to somebody else. Yeah.
So you speak about like how it can be quite isolating, and trying to figure it out in your head and being alone with it. Or I'm speaking from my experience as well, I think. But it's also like a bit of a superpower at the same time, in my opinion. Yeah. So although I haven't been diagnosed with ADHD, and a lot of people, society now says, oh, everyone's got ADHD. Everyone's diagnosed.
I've got a little bit of ADHD.
Yeah, so everyone's diagnosing themselves with ADHD. But there is certain traits. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But I certainly have certain traits that are related to ADHD.
Can I just say here, I think neurodiverse people should diagnose other neurodiverse people. Yeah. And definitely. Because we connect. Exactly. I mean, and there's things that we will phone each other up and we'll just be like being totally ridiculous and making these silly faces and things like that. But we've always been like that, you and I. But to do that out there, you'd probably get sectioned. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're safe. We're safe because, when we're around our Buddhist friends and in our community, we're kind of safe because they know us. But, you do that stuff out there and you're going to get in trouble.
Say, like, the kind of the hard things I've found in terms of ADHD is feeling quite alone and feeling different and a bit weird because of the way, for me, I'm a bit more hyperactive and a bit more like fucking excited. And then I'll just really focus on something, so I can get distracted, particularly in work, projects, don't really finish things, And
it's a bit boring, isn't it?
And I'm 100 miles an hour, right? Yeah. But having said that, I think what you're saying is, it's okay to be like that, and it's okay to connect with others. And I think the benefit I found is like I'm incredibly spontaneous. So a lot of the things in my life where I met Jenna, that was a spontaneous trip away. The things like going to Portugal was a spontaneous trip away, and the conversations we've had, and also the hyper focus stuff. Yeah. So although sometimes at work I don't hyper focus on particular work tasks because I find them boring, things like this YouTube channel, I'm getting a little bit obsessed by it. So
there's something you're interested in, and this is probably going to be your thing. This is going to be your thing, isn't it?
So I'm saying it's like, this is a good thing. This is what I found. Yeah. My question to you is, what we've kind of touched on the difficulties. What would you say is the most empowering thing about being a neurodiverse individual? Or individual, because I think
and I don't. And this is really hard because I haven't got the mind of somebody that is neurotypical. And so I've always thought, well, this is just how it is because this is how it is. But until you start like researching it and talking to other people, and you see all this stuff in the media, and they say, a neurotypical person, so just like I would not say the word normie, that they will just be able to have one thought pattern. Yeah. So they'll just be able to like do this thing. And make them do this thing. But I think with us, what it is, and of course it is a spectrum. So when people talk about a spectrum, I think sometimes the West often people look at it as having a spectrum. So it's like an equalizer. Yeah. But it's not quite like that, I don't think. I think what it feels like is it's, if you could imagine like a star constellation or something like that, it's the whole lot of it. And then sometimes at different times in your life, depending on what's going on, this will come to the forefront, this will come. So it's not something that's linear. It's just dependent on where you are at the moment, like what's going on internally, what's going on around you. And the question was, how do I find it? Since I've become, because I've been ill for a few years, so I've been able to spend a lot of time here at home alone and looking at all these things and meditating and reflecting on it. I've been able to, how would you describe it? It's almost like being able to bring certain thoughts into focus, but I'm able to not look at every single thought that I'm having. But so right now I'm running through something in my head while I'm talking to you about something else I want to say. But you can sort of bring stuff into focus and then let it go back out. But you're kind of able to look at a few different thoughts. So I think for me, what I've achieved personally in myself over the last few years might have taken somebody else 20 years. So that I feel really fortunate for. I had a doctor say to me once, you need to stop ruminating. You need to stop studying. And it's like, but I can't. I can't. If I'm interested in something, I have to find out the information. And that information isn't always available to me. But what you'll find is something will come up and then that information will come back to you and you'll think, oh my goodness. So here's the answer to the question. So then what you have this question. So then what you'll think, so you'll see all these little connections. So you'll think, oh, well, that connects to that and this connects to this. And then you can start to put the bigger picture together. And I don't think that's possible if you if you're not neurodiverse. I don't think it's possible. It's like I feel like it's like quantum. I think our minds are a little bit like quantum physics. It's all lots of different things existing at once rather than just, what are we talking about? Analog and digital, isn't it? Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah. But so what does mindfulness stand for me? I think also what I've realised is if you've got all these thoughts inside, it's obviously if you haven't got somebody to talk to all the time, it's easy if you can verbalise to them, like actually talk to yourself out loud. So then you can work through stuff. So it's almost like you're having a conversation with your stuff. And I never used to do that. I used to try and keep it all inside. But it becomes, there's too much. There's just too much going on there. So I think nowadays I verbalise stuff to myself and I'll figure things out that way.
Interesting. And what would your message be to anyone who's like struggling or they think that they may or may not be neurodiverse?
I think you have, like, you'll ask this question with people or you'll go to doctors and they will say, no, you are or you aren't. That's what they used to say. So many therapists, I would call myself a therapy junkie because I'm always like, there's something different. I need to know the answer. But it's not necessarily something that you can know here in your mind. But on the inside, I always just think, well, they were wrong. I know I'm right. And you have this feeling inside of you that this is absolutely right. So I would just say, just keep going, keep looking, never give up, and just keep looking for the answer.
And what about if someone has been diagnosed, for example, and they know they're autistic, they know they're ADHD or whatever, but they're struggling through life, and they perhaps they don't practice mindfulness, perhaps they've just been diagnosed and they're suffering quite badly. What would be, if you do have any advice, or have you experienced that? Is there anything you would share from or draw from your own experience to share with others?
And this is what I talk about with my students as well, is taking yourself out of your mind and into your body. Because what and I was thinking about this morning, is we've got a system in our body that keeps us safe. So it's the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. So our brains don't actually know the difference between thoughts that we're having and something that's happening in the outside world. So what you can find is if you're neurodiverse and you have all these sensory issues, and then you might smell something and you'll think, oh, you're not even aware of these thoughts because there's so many things coming in. So you might smell something or see something, and it connects on the inside, but then you start to become dysregulated. So then what happens is with the sympathetic nervous system. So it's kind of, when you say sympathetic, it's like, I'm here to help you. Let's shut everything else down. Let's get some adrenaline there. So it's the fight, flight, or freeze. So it's that thing that's going to keep you safe. So this is what's happening with you in that time. And this is when things become chaotic. So what I think with mindfulness is you can learn to see these things. So you can learn to, or feel these things, learn to think, I'm feeling a bit anxious now, not too sure what's going on. I can't breathe. My heart rate's going up. So, but what's happening there is you're getting all these thoughts are coming back in your mind, and it might be, something that's happened during the week. So those thoughts will come back in and you'll think, well, it'll just be, and that's when you become dysregulated. So me try and explain this. So what I say is then, try and learn like all the different senses. So there's one popular thing that people say, what can you see? What can you smell? What can you taste? What can you hear? But it's something that you need to practice before you get to that place of having a complete meltdown. So I would say it's just sensory awareness. So take yourself out of your mind into your body, and with the best thing to use for that is your breath. And with mindfulness, people say, empty your mind and things like that. That's completely impossible. So what mindfulness is being aware of what's going on in the moment, not trying to change anything. So if you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack, just think, right. So one of the things you can do is, I always say to the students, you put your hand on your chest like this. So then it just sort of grounds you, and one on your stomach. And you can just think, right, okay, I'm going to follow my breath in. But not even changing, just following it, just seeing what it's doing. Because often, when we say, take a deep breath in, we go, we're sort of we're being instructed to take this breath in. So I would say just breathe normally how you are, and then just recognize. So am I holding? Am I able to, am I shallow breathing? Am I breathing fast? And it's just by recognizing what's happening in the moment. Am I able to breathe into my abdomen? Right there, so I can feel my heartbeat because I'm pretty excited. So then you can but it's just a matter of waiting and taking that time to just wait. And obviously it's a little bit more difficult if you're talking, but it's just literally, it really is just coming into your body. So taking yourself out of your mind into your body, and your breath is the easiest thing to access.
And you can do it anywhere, can't you?
Well, this is the thing, and people are like, "Oh, I've got to meditate."
This is something we're going to talk about as well. So, a lot of the time people will say, "I don't know how to meditate. I don't meditate properly. I can only do 5 minutes. You can do half an hour." There's so many expectations that people have, and I always think that you can do it anywhere, and it's about little and often. So something that I've learned, I think it was in a mindfulness course I might have done, and someone said, you wouldn't go to the gym straight away and expect to lift,
to get muscles,
loads of weights, like real heavy weights.
Yeah.
You would build up to it, and week by week you would increase it, or whatever you would do, until you got to that point. And it's the same with mindfulness in terms of meditation. You don't start doing half an hour to whatever it might be.
Going into like a 10-day Vipassana,
it's just
silent
like
meditation.
A couple of minutes here and there. So that would be my kind of message for people who are new. But what about, have you got anything you would add to that, do you think?
I think, and this is the confusion, this is not about, it's about all the paraphernalia that we've got, I'm not really, But I think this is the confusion, because there's what we would call like a formal practice of meditation. Yeah. And of course, you see all the films and things like that, and it's like, we must meditate, and you have to sit like this. So there's what we would call a formal meditation. So there's like sitting on the mat with your buddies at a retreat and things like that. So there's a formal meditation. But again, I think also if you look at say like a Tibetan something on YouTube or something like that, they're not sitting there all perfectly still. They're coughing, they're rocking, they're messing around, all that sort of stuff. But here in the West with us, we're like, we've got to sit still. Yeah. I've got to meditate, and we're in our minds, we need to focus, So I think it's just about realising that is what we think meditation is. I'm not saying that a formal meditation practice isn't good, because what it gives you, if you can spend that time, it's like training, it's like you said, like training yourself, to be able to sit still. I remember when I first started meditating properly, I would say, I would just be coughing, and I'd think, why have I got this cough? I never have this cough. Every time I come meditate, I've got this cough. And I don't know what it was. I couldn't sit still. But even now, I still, if I go to like a retreat or something like that, I will sit for the session. But quite often I'll be there and I'll think, goodness gracious, it's time for a cup of tea yet. And again, the time of day, like it's about knowing yourself. It's about knowing yourself.
And it's about maybe being gentle with yourself and not, comparing to other people, or, and don't go with what you think you need to do, but just it's your own experience.
Because it's a path. It's what we say. It's you're on this path. So it's literally you learning about who you are. I think there's so many different types of meditation. Yeah. So
this is what I was going to come on to. I was going to say, is there a particular one that there is, particularly in Buddhism, there's like calm abiding and there's love and kindness and stuff like that. Are there any ones that you would recommend for perhaps people with ADHD and neurodiversity, like neurodiverse traits, or is it, whatever works for you, or have you found one where you're like, this is what I practice, this is what works for me?
One of the biggest things I do is when I wake up in the morning,
Yep.
and quite often, you'll be lying in bed, and then all of us, the thoughts will start, whatever's going on yesterday, and you'll think, right, I'm gonna lie here for a minute, I'm gonna check in. And one of the things I've noticed is I do this toe flicking thing.
Right.
So if I'm anxious, like I stop fidgeting, I'm foot rubbing and things like that, I'm jerking my feet. So I'll wake up in the morning and I'll just lie in bed and I'll think, right, I really want to go back to sleep. Okay, so just looking at your body. So for me, it would be like before I even get out of bed. So I know that when I get out of bed, okay, you're feeling a bit sensitive, whatever it was you watched last night, just be a little bit gentle on yourself. So, just realize these things. And of course, when you do get out of bed, that's what Rinpoche says, isn't it? Don't roll over, roll out of bed.
Yeah.
If you wake up and you're in that place, just get out of bed. I think routine for me too is a thing. So I used to lie in bed for hours and I'd be so depressed, everything's so awful, or things like that. It's like, just get up and get your day started. Generally, I wake up at the same time. Nowadays, get your breakfast.
Yeah.
So
with the meditation, then, is it almost like a body scan?
Yeah, like a body scan.
Yeah. I've got one that I find really powerful for me, and it's love and kindness. And I think it's very easy to kind of, for me, lose my mind and think, fucking, excuse me, I think people are assholes. Someone's treated me really badly, blah, 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 stuff like that. But then when I do a love and kindness one, and then you really go deep into yourself and your mind, and then you start being kind to perhaps people who have harmed you and stuff like that. And for me, I think that was the biggest thing that's changed in my life, is that I'm not holding on to
the stories.
Yeah.
They did this to me, this happened.
And I think having that different, but you really have to work on yourself, and you have to go give yourself time and kindness and stuff like that.
Oh, I want to talk to you about this, because therapy, and often I was thinking this morning, looking back at when I've been in therapy, and they'd say, therapy's a weird thing. And I'm not saying don't go to therapy, but just keep looking for the therapy that suits you. If you obviously, I've had a lot of therapy. If you need therapy, you need therapy, go and get therapy. But often they would say, we want to talk about this thing. And I'd be there going, oh, I'm trying to think about this really bad experience I had in childhood, but I didn't really. And I was thinking just all the wonderful things, like, look and find. And I was in this therapy, this one particular therapy, I was like, but my childhood wasn't like that. And they're like, but you've been diagnosed. You wouldn't be here unless you were diagnosed. And I kept thinking, you're wrong. So, it's like they kind of bring this stuff up because they want to look at this thing. But I don't necessarily always think that's a good idea, especially if you're going through a tough time, because that's where you start to try and look at the same thing over and over and over again.
It's a really interesting point, because I think when we talk about therapy, and
it's all heads up,
the expectation is you go to therapy, they fix you, they don't. It's all about you working on yourself. But I think what's really important to highlight to people is, I've got a couple of things to say. So not every therapist is the same. So you won't, just like you won't get along with certain people, you might not connect with a therapist, particular therapist, but there's always different therapists out there that can help you. There's different styles of therapy, so one particular style might not help you, but a different style might help you, like, person-centered, for example. You lead it rather than a different approach. That's kind
the
of my
one
message.
I've had the most success with.
And the thing I was going to say is, it's also similar. So I'm in recovery, I'm in AA, and I've been to a lot of meetings, right? And they all have the same message, but they're all slightly different. And there's been some I've gone to where I've been like, this is not for me. It's working for people, which is great, but this
have you found that you've stayed there too long?
No. I think
sometimes I have. I'm like, I've got it. I've been told I've got to do this 6 weeks therapy. I need to stay here and do this thing. Nowadays, I wouldn't be like that. But
I think basically what I'm trying to say is, there is help out there, whether it's help with ADHD or autism, whether it's therapy or whether it's AA, whatever it may be. There's a lot of help out there, and they're all so different. So I think my message to people is, try different things, because different things will work. And I think that's what you was kind of saying.
I think the most important thing is to because the more you do think about these things, and
Yeah.
you know, things can become really difficult for people, and they can, you know, take their own lives. So just speak out.
Yeah.
Just talk about
Yeah.
things. Don't just find somebody, even if it's somebody on TikTok.
Yeah.
You know, there's some really supportive people, and I think
Yeah.
it's really amazing. But what did I want to talk about? There's something I realized the other day, and I was thinking, isn't it interesting? You know, we've got all these dramas and these big films and stuff like that. So we're all there gossiping about, you know, what happened in this show. And did you see what happened to that guy? Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. And then that happened and this happened. We're talking about something that's completely fabricated, but not talking about the stuff that's going on in our own lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because people, and I think this is the thing that I struggle with, people just like to hear the good things.
Yeah. And it's so true.
Yeah.
And
just be positive. And you think, I'm really, really struggling,
Yeah.
you know.
And I think that's important. What you're saying is share, you know, with people, you know, if you are going through a difficult time. And I think there's two things I wanted to say.
Opening up.
Opening up. And I did a meeting, like an interview with Howden and Andy. And they both said the same thing. You know, they said, I can't remember what it was talking about, a similar thing. They said, things will pass. Like the emotion of feeling like shit or whatever it might be, it will pass. It won't last forever. So if anyone is going through a difficult time, you know, just know that it will pass and you will over time get better. And the other thing I wanted to share is, particularly in AA, I've heard it quite a few times, is when you talk about something, it takes the power out of it. So for me, being abused and stuff like that as a kid, the more I've fucking spoken about it, the more I've let go of it. And then yesterday, I went back to the area where that really traumatic thing happened. But I went back empowered, you know, by people like you who support me, and that's just because I've been talking about it, and now I can talk, and now I can share about it to try and help others, you know. So I think that's a really important message, is to, you know, be vulnerable, but to the right people. So if I was vulnerable with people in AA, the Buddhist group, you loving friends and stuff like that, they support me. If I'm vulnerable to people I don't know
at the bus stop,
and at the bus stop,
it's like,
you know, or some unkind people, and don't get me wrong, there's going to be some unkind people online when I share this, but I built myself up enough to know.
Try and look at the good.
Yeah, and the intention is to help people, and if people come back with saying negative things, and that's on them, that's fine. But I think my kind of message is to share it.
Isn't it interesting though? There can be like 100 really good things or 100 really good comments going on in life, or in, you know, in the comments or whatever, or some people saying stuff. But it's that one thing, that one little comment, and you take it and you're like, oh, well, they said this, they said that, and that's the thing you get. You sort of focus on, and then you're you know, these thoughts are going, then you're spiraling, then you're out of control, then you're, you know. But so it's those things. But I think what that's happening there is it's kind of like a evolutionary thing, whereas, you know, we're an evolutionary thing. We're evolutionary wise, we're supposed to look out for the bad things so we can survive. So that's what happens. But this is what I would say also in today's world is have some media free time. Have some television free time. Have some time, because there is so much going on. And I found this with myself. I'm quite connected now to a few people who are actually in Gaza. So what's happening in Palestine at the moment. And I've had times I'm talking to these people, and I would try and talk to them every day. But they would be asking me about my life and how my life was. And I'm thinking, this person's starving, you know. But so then for me, that sort of became a really big part of my life. And then I realised that some days I just can't do it. Because it's not that I don't know that it's happening. It's not that we don't know about all these wars and things that are going on. It's just that some days you just can't do it. It's just too much.
And someone mentioned about things, particularly around the news, and it's like, I'll have to dig it out. But it was around, you know, we only used to hear about local news and things up the road or down the road, or you know, and we could manage it. And but now it's gone, you know, and then it went kind of national, and now it's gone international, and now it's everything, and then we've been bombarded.
It's all the time, isn't it?
And it's so full on, and I think it's really important to just kind of take a step back and be like, I think again during the interviews I've had, some people have shared and said, you know, there's things that you can't control, and there's things that you, or not control, what's the word, you can impact, and things that you can't impact. Focus on the things that you can impact,
things that you can change, rather than things that
it
you
doesn't
can't.
mean what is going on is, you know, is okay, because it's not okay, but you can still maybe inspire others who can make change, whether it's people higher up, politicians, whatever, I don't know, but do you know what I mean? So not
what you can do, what you,
yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's the media. I think also people need to understand that the media is kind of like this machine, that it's driven by sensationalism and things that are bad and horrible and isn't this terrible. You don't really hear about, you know, what's the good news week. Like I've got some stuff in my socials, and there's this one little thing that I love, because I love the environment. I'm not, you know, ridiculous about it. I live in a house, I have electricity, and I drive a car, of course. But there's this one group I follow, and you know, hermit crabs. They get the little shells. So there's this one place in Japan, and these hermit crabs are like, they don't have any new shells. So what they do is they leave their old shell and then go and find a new one, because people like pick them up at the beach, take them home, or there's, you know, less crabs and things in the environment. So do you know what have a guess what these little crabs are putting on, getting into, what their homes are?
Go on. I don't know.
Have a guess.
I've got no idea.
Plastic bottles.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
really?
they're like trying to make their homes in like plastic. So this guy, he goes around this one island, he picks up all the plastic, and so what he's done is he has this thing where if you've got shells at home, you can literally send them to him, and he'll like put a little date on it, and then and so they have all these little areas. They've got these like little the hermit crabs have got like their own little recycling centres. So they'll you know, he'll dump them in the forest, and they'll all come up, and he films them. So I find that, I just find that so lovely. But because I'm really involved, like I don't like plastic. I've got this thing about plastic, and everything's wrapped in plastic. But when I saw that, I thought, you know, that's one little thing that one person is doing, and it's really lovely. So
and it's impacting you. It's impacted me, and then
try and look out for the things that matter to you. So try and look for the things that are positive in your life. If you're on social media, this is the thing I heard about, is when you're on social media, are you consuming or are you creating?
Exactly.
You know, are you just there, like putting it all into you, or are you doing something that's positive? Are you doing something that's creative, that's helpful?
That makes sense. And the thing that you shared then, I think it leads me on to my next bit, is they've influenced you one way, you've influenced me. When I go traveling with Jen in a few weeks' time, hopefully, you know, there's going to be people who influence me in a positive way, and I can be kind and influence them in whatever way it's going to be. What would be your message to us
to the world, or when you're traveling? When
we're traveling, in terms of managing maybe our minds, because there's going to be times where perhaps we miss people. Or just in general,
call them
when you've gone.
Call them. Do you know? So I'm like, oh my! Everybody message it. Yeah. What do you do when you're getting homesick?
When you've gone away, because obviously you've traveled, you've come from Australia and you've come to the UK. So there's going to be some experiences you've had. What would you pass on?
When you're traveling, or when you're moving to another country, because you do, and it's, you know, this is the weirdest thing I've found, is it's almost like I've got two lives, or I had two lives, because it's like I live here, I love the UK, I love everything about my family's here, but when I travel back to Australia and see my family and friends there, I kind of feel like a ghost. So it's just, I don't really know how do I do it. I just deal with it in the moment, and it's like looking, it's just really weird. And then I come back here, but then obviously I'm getting homesick, and there's you know, things going on in my family. I can't be there. It is really difficult, but you just make your family. You know, you find your people along the way that become family to you, and you'll meet these people. And oh goodness, this makes me think of an airport when I think I was going back to Australia, so I think it might have been 2020. And I was just stood in this line, and I had this maybe half an hour with this one person. Don't know what their name was, don't know who they were, but it was just lovely. So I was standing there talking to this guy, and I thought, he's a really lovely person. We're sort of standing next to each other, and I was like, should we have lunch together? Aww. So we bought lunch, we ate lunch, and then he just went off into his life, beautiful? And I was just in my life, but I don't. I mean, he was kind of cute, probably, because I was talking to him. You know, I don't remember where he was from or where he was going, but you have that feeling of it.
So
and
being
I think
open is
it's just because And people will talk, but a lot of people are
Yeah.
just like, really stressed out. They're trying to get in the plane, they're trying to do the thing. But sometimes you'll see somebody and they'll look at you, or they won't actually be on their phones. They won't be, doing like this.
Just connect with them.
Just connecting with them. And just connecting with whoever's in front of you in the time. And if you see somebody that's really struggling, like, oh goodness, up in London, the homeless people, and you see, and just if you see a homeless person or something, like, you might not have any money, you might not have anything to give them, you mightn't have anything, but just people are not invisible. People shouldn't feel invisible. If you see that person, you see something in that person, even if it's just looking at them, or just connecting with them, or just being helpful.
I think, and that leads me on to the,
but not like too helpful. Give me your handbag, and if you're going to New York.
That leads me on to like kind of maybe wrapping this up a bit. But like when I've spoken to other people I've interviewed, they often, the message has been just to be kind to others is what their kind of life message is. And that's kind of what you were saying there, is like just acknowledge, be kind, be nice to people. Have you got anything else that you would add, or anything that you think people need to hear this, or if people are struggling, or maybe they're not struggling, they're just looking for some kind of
I think
influence.
Community. I think we're nice. Really. I think we've lost community. So I live in this town here. We go to our Buddhist group. Like, I know my neighbours. And things like that. But often people will go somewhere, even if it's like for a week, if you're travelling, or they move into a house. People don't know anybody. They don't even know what their neighbour does. So everybody goes home. They go to work. They come home. They're in their house. But just look for your community.
That's really
and it's
beautiful.
Like, sometimes so I've got like lots of little different communities, people that I'm involved with, and there's one group I'm involved with, and I used to think, oh goodness, what is this all about? So it's a friend of mine that makes drums, and I used to think, this is kind of nuts, isn't it? But I started going along to it, and I really like it. So we get out there and we do our drumming circles, and so I've got that little community. But you just never know who you're going to meet and what's going to come up. But I think definitely it's community. People are just so alone.
How would you find your community though? Because there's people I can think of right now where they're a bit lost, and they think, I don't know what I like, I don't know what I don't like, I don't know what
to do. Have you got like a bit more of an example? They're just kind of alone.
They're a bit alone. So their life has gone a little bit upside down, for example. Things that they particularly were used to in a particular relationship, for example.
And it's all gone.
Now that's kind of breaking down. They're left with themselves, and now they're like, but so who am I? What do I do? So what did you say about that? Because for me, I've been through that, and now I've got a community of the beautiful Buddhist group. I've got a community of AA and recovery, and there's like some other people that are like Aussie based and stuff like that. So there's always these nice communities that I found through difficult times. How would you
find your community?
If you're not an alcoholic and you're not a Buddhist, right? They're my core communities. If you're neither of them, then how do you discover where?
Find something. I mean, everybody's got an interest, even if it's just even if it's cars or something like that. Whatever that interest is, it's just try and. For me, I think it's always been, I get interested in so many things. Like, I think, oh my God, that's amazing. I'm gonna study that. So then I'll be, down that rabbit hole for a little bit. But if you're somebody that's struggling, I talk to a lot of people on TikTok that are just alone. I don't go looking for them, but I'll just come across them, and you'll think this person is like really suffering. So you just like send them a note. You might never speak to them again, but so community, just kind of. Okay, so when you're struggling, what do? You kind of like this. You're kind of imploding, and you're all closed in, and every life is terrible. Just try and open up a bit and look out. Get into nature. I think would be the biggest thing. Getting into nature as much as you can. And you'll find people along the way, as long as you're not on your phone, unless you actually like walk into somebody.
To be open-minded, open-hearted.
But just kind of keep your mind open, keep your heart open, and just whatever comes across your way. I think I've heard, so mindfulness, I think, is, I can't think who said it, but just, and you were talking about kindness before, is just who the person is with you in front of you.
Yeah.
Trying not, not thinking about I've got to go home, I've got to do this, whoever is in front of you in that moment, because it's just that moment. That's all we have. All we really have is, apart from the chaos that's going to go on, and this that's happened last week and everything that's happened, all we've got is this. Is this right now?
That was so beautiful.
We've got this right now.
I think that is going to be the perfect way to finish.
It's 2 minutes. It's like 2 minutes of our life. That's all we've got.
Yeah.
Essentially.
It's beautifully put. And I think this is where I'm going to end the interview. Okay. So end it on kindness, end it on community.
Yeah.
And end
reaching
it on,
out.
all we have is now. And I think that's the message that I've taken from this chat.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
From my heart.
Yeah.
for this discussion, because it's people like you who get to share their experience, and it is inspiring. And there have been difficult things that you've worked through, and now to sit here with you in like a really nice, peaceful environment, both sharing our experiences. When a couple of years ago, I didn't know you, and I was in a real bad mental state of mind. And then when things got better, you supported me, and now here I am, like sitting on there doing this.
He's actually moving back to where I came from.
Yeah.
So I'm actually really excited, because I'm like, I'm gonna I spoke to my brother, and because you're like you remind me of my brother a lot, but so it's like connecting you with my people back home. As well.
Thank you.
The interweb, this big
world wide
web.
You spoke about the nature as well, and when we do go to Australia, it's just a completely different environment. But then I think there's also
I need to teach you a few things about Queensland.
We'll go into this after.
After,
But what I was going to say is, even though the nature in Australia is very different and very heightened, and it's very different to the UK, there's still beautiful places. You just have to open your mind to it.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. That's so